Hey, Spin, like 1025 Aim. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, and David here with you. We are live at Chicago home, Chicken and Waffles in East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue. I could have walked here today.
Look at that face.
That's not my face. Your face.
Absolutely not.
That's Carnell Tate face. But as I was saying, Chicago's home of Chicken and Waffles, East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue. I could have walked here.
Why didn't you?
I didn't want to be too sweaty for the show, you know?
How far?
It would have been about a 20-minute walk for me, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's too long. Then when you got to go to work, yeah, that's too long.
But we're glad we're here. And first of all, before we get to our reaction from the first round of the NFL draft, Derek, I'm sad to say, my friend, the love train has left the station. It's en route to Glendale, Arizona.
Yes.
I'm sorry, man. I know for months you've been conducting the love train, but someone is going to take over that role. How do you feel about that before we get to the player Titans actually draft at number 4 overall?
The draft started. Either to pass on my love, or if Arizona ain't another team drafted him, I would be disappointed. But I would still trust in what the organization is doing moving forward, trying to add playmakers to Cam Ward's table, and I think they did just that. Now we can back and forth on, not necessarily the player, but the spot. But that's the same thing we went through last year. Drafted Cam Ward number 1 overall. And people were like, well, he was. The Titans chose to draft him because he felt the need. He was the best on their board. And look at what happened. He has developed, and hopefully he will continue to develop.
We spent so much time talking about Jeremiah Love, David Haley, Arvell Reese, even Ruben Bain at one point. We did not spend much time discussing Carnell Tate as the Titans pick at number 4 overall. Derek, you were on record for quite a while saying that you would not have taken at number 4 overall. But last night, the Titans doing just that. Have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
Number 1, what was your initial reaction as you were hosting the draft show with Big Joe Dubin and Chase McCabe? And 2, how are you feeling about it now that you've had some time to think about it, sleep on it? How do you feel about the pick of Carnell Tate at number 4?
I think my reaction was like everybody else's. Wow. Not wow, necessarily Carnell Tate, but it was wow. They chose to take a wide receiver that high instead of trying to move down and still get that wide receiver. That was my first reaction, was wow. Okay. All right, this is what they're doing. But, as I had an opportunity, even after, it didn't take long for me to realize, hey, listen, I understand what they're doing. They are trying to fill this guy's plate with as many playmakers as they possibly can. The playmaker, they probably had their eye on those 2 guys as guys they could potentially get or wanted. One of them went off the board, as many expected, sort of late in the draft, right up to the draft. And then they were left with Carnell Tate, who I believe they had high on their board. Obviously, the number 1 ranked wide receiver, but I think they had him even higher than that. And if they had him higher than that, then, hey, you draft him. But my first initial was, wow. But the kid checks. And are we still allowed to say the CB word, the CB phrase? Are we still allowed to
it's
say
still
it?
banned.
I believe that's been banned. I believe that phrase has been banned.
Okay, it's still banned. Well, he filled all the requirements that they were looking for at the wide receiver position. And we can get more into the analytics, as I know you will, Adam and Willie will too. But he sort of fills those things that they felt they needed in a wide receiver. Number 1 wide receiver, they believe he's an X guy. He's big. He's rangy. He has enough speed. He's a combative catcher. He catches things at a high rate when he's contested. So these are the things, and he has a bigger radius, a catch radius for a guy that they are trying to, consistently be over that 65% completion rate. Well, when you get this guy 6'2" with a wingspan like his, he helps in that matter.
And Willie, we had been discussing for months in the context of Jeremiah Love how important it was for Cam Ward to have another weapon to help his development. It's not Jeremiah Love, it's Carnell Tate. And as Derek mentioned, Carnell Tate, one of the best contested catchers in college football last season, 12 of 14 on contested catches last season, according to Pro Football Focus. More importantly, I would say, 0 recorded drops by Carnell Tate last season. But I would say the reaction to the pick, the immediate reaction, was mixed, because I do think a lot of Titans fans wanted the pick to be someone on the offensive side of the ball. But then you get to Carnell Tate wasn't even the best receiver on his team. He wouldn't have been the number one receiver in a deeper wide receiver class. He may not even be the best receiver in this class. Jordan Tyson may be the best receiver in this class. At this point, you can pick apart any little thing. I'm wondering how you were feeling about it, especially because we were under the impression that the Titans could trade down and still draft Carnell Tate, but they didn't do that. Or maybe they tried and they didn't have any takers.
I'm curious because it does not appear, based on what happened in real time, within a few minutes of the Titans being on the clock, Adam Schefter had the report. Titans are sticking at 4. And, they had the shot of the situation room, or whatever you want to call it, their little powwow area, where they're all high-fiving and congratulating each other. They had made the pick. So it doesn't look like they were really shopping that pick around with the idea that let's move down 3 or 4 spots. And it was Kansas City. You would think Mike Borgonzi had a pretty good communication wave or line too that moved up a few spots. So I was curious about that. I'd feel a lot better about it if they moved down a couple of spots and got Tate. I am a little bit wary of, we have to get the quarterback, the wide receiver right now. I don't know that is sound thinking, because this is a 3 or 4 year project. You want to be winning for years. You don't want to just be better this year, although it would be nice to start winning sooner than later. So if they reach for him at 4, I would be concerned. But only time is going to tell. I just didn't see anybody. If you think these draft experts have any clue what they're doing, nobody had him going that high. So that's the fact of the matter, right? He ran a 4.5, which Derek has talked about a lot, which is not the end-all, be-all of a future success, right? There's great wide receivers that don't run 4.3 or 4.4. But I was surprised.
To that point, Willie, as you mentioned, Carnell Tate ran a 4.53 40. And I made sure to do some research on this, because I know there are a lot of people out there who see that number and say, you can't draft a receiver number 4 overall who runs a 4.53. This from Pro Football Focus. Quote, the 3 players with the highest PFF receiving grades of the 2025 season, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, all ran in the 4.5s. So too did many of the greatest receivers of the past decade, from route-running savants like Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen to physical imposers like Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins. I do not see Carnell Tate's 4.53 40 as disqualifying in any way. It's different than Ruben Baines' short arms, in my opinion, because that is a significant outlier. Carnell Tate's 4.53 40 is not an outlier. NFL.com, right before this year's combine, looked back at the combines between 2003 and 2025. The average time on the 40 for wide receivers who ran the 40 at the combine was 4.52, and he ran a 4.53. So he ran basically an average 40. So to me, if you want to debate the merits of the pick, that's fine. I'm not as open to the argument of, well, he ran a 4.53, so he's out. There are other reasons perhaps you can argue with the pick. Derek, you tell me. The 40 time is not on my list.
Because I look at a guy with his size, his build, and watching the games, he looked faster than what his time suggests. And I haven't seen anybody catch him from behind. And he seems to get deep a lot, over the last 2 years. So, had he ran a 4.6, 4.7, then yeah, we may have some questions. But he ran a 4.5, which is an average time. I don't think it alarmed any of the scouts. That may be a reason why he chose not to run it at his pro day, because if he felt that was sort of hindering him as far as his draft stock, I think he would have ran it. But I think he got enough intel back from his agent, saying, hey, listen, we don't need to run a 40. You're good. They looked at all the measurables, so you're okay. So that I'm not worried about. I'm just, the one thing I am I wonder how they're going to bring him along. Are they going to automatically, and you heard Borgonzi talk about it a little bit, I'm sure we'll go over it, that he will work his way through he won't automatically be the number one, but he'll work his way through, put him at different spots, find out where he's comfortable at, and then go from there. So I wonder how that process is going to be. How did, Dabo, how was he able to develop the kid in New York,
Malik Neighbors.
How was he able to develop Malik Neighbors? Did they take it slow? Was he able to pick up very quickly? So with that number 4 pick, man, they're going to be very careful, because like a quarterback, if you try to rush this thing and put him in a position where he's not comfortable, we all going to see it. It's going to be there for us to see.
And Willie, I do think there are a lot of Titans fans who have this sort of mental block about the Tennessee Titans and drafting wide receivers in the first round. By the way, Carnell Tate, the highest drafted receiver in Titans/Oilers NFL history, surpassing Corey Davis, who was the number 5 pick. But when you look back at the history of first-round receivers drafted by the Tennessee Oilers/Titans, it's not a great list. Kevin Dyson, Kenny Britt, Kendall Wright, Corey Davis, and Treylon Burks. Now, of course, Carnell Tate. But I do think there are Titans fans who are a bit scarred by how the other first-round wide receivers have gone in Titans/Oilers history. So I do think that's something that some fans are going to have to get over at some point.
Well, they don't get over it. That's it's built in. It's imprinted in their brain. You're going to hear that. That's going to be part of the story from day one. I'm more interested in what Derek is talking about, because the expectations that go with this, and this comes down to the same question for me: is he a freak? When you, and some of the people who have the, the endorsement as freaks by all of the experts, some of them will not turn out to be great players in the NFL. There'll be a couple that just don't hit for whatever reason. But if you reached, and even though he is the quote best wide receiver in the draft, does that mean he is truly a guy that can be a number one? And if you passed on a guy like Vrabel-Rousini, who I feel like has the makings of being a freak, even though there's questions of where he's going to play, how exactly is he going to fit in a scheme? Is he Micah Parsons, or what has he got to learn? I don't know. All pathways are possible. I just feel like expectations are going to be really high on this guy.
Derek, I'm wondering if you or Titans fans feel any sort of comfort knowing how successful Ohio State wide receivers have been in the NFL in recent years. Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. As you know, Derek, Ohio State is a wide receiver factory. Does that give you any, as I said, any comfort perhaps? I don't know how many highly touted Ohio State wide receivers have busted, but that list I read, pretty damn impressive. So I'm wondering if that could ease any concerns Titans fans have about this selection.
I mean, I'm not sure if it will. I think only time will tell whether it eases any, angst or, reservations about, the Titans drafting Carnell Tate at 4. But I know one thing is Brian Hartline takes these guys that come to Ohio State, and they're 4 and 5 star guys, and he develops them. It's been true. You can go down the line over the last 5 years. He's developed, even though they came in as 5 star guys, he continued to develop those guys. And this is what the interesting part about it is that he's found a way to get these guys to not be selfish. You're talking about all these great players that played there, and he's gotten them all to play within the system, and no one's selfish. And everybody just goes out because they know they're going to get their catches, or they know their time will come soon. Whether it's Harrison, Abuka, Alave, Jeremiah Pickens, all these guys,
a lot of them.
They found a way to keep themselves from not sort of having that diva-ish outburst. So I'm high on the kid as far as what I think he will be able to do. But I'm like, 4, he better. Because the Titan fans will be out there with pitchforks if he doesn't.
Steven from Clarksville says, I am convinced that you all are performing mental gymnastics to convince yourselves and the listeners that picking Tate at number 4 overall was a good idea. I mean, look, I was surprised when I saw that report from Dan Graziano a couple of days ago where he said if Jeremiah Love goes number 3 overall, the Titans are going to either pick one of the remaining edge rushers or wide receiver. And I said, wide receiver. They're not going to take a wide receiver at number 4 overall.
Joke's on you, Jack.
I mean, by the way, all that Jeremiah Love smoke turned out to be true.
It did.
Yeah.
So eggs on our face, I guess. But 615-737-1025. We want your reaction all show long to the Tennessee Titans drafting Carnell Tate from Ohio State with the 4th overall pick last night. Let us not forget as well that the Titans traded back into the first round and drafted edge rusher Keldrick Falk out of Auburn at number 31. So we'll take your reaction on the drafting of Falk as well. But we're focused on Carnell Tate primarily. 615-737-1025. Tell us what you thought when the pick was announced. Tell us how you're feeling today. Tell us what it's going to take to convince you in his rookie season that Carnell Tate was the right selection. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I want to get into Derek's mind a bit on how he would utilize Carnell Tate in this offense, how he would structure the offense now that Carnell Tate is a part of it. 615-737-1025. The Game Nashville Sports Network, will have coverage of the NFL Draft live today, right here from Chicago's home of chicken and waffles. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. today on Sports Talk 830, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Pizzona MD, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, Sealmaster, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air Home Generators.
Hints of fresh leather.
I know it's early, but how much do you project him to be an X in this offense? And as an X, you're on the ball. How do you see him being able to play against press coverage?
I see he does a pretty good job at it. Some guys win versus press in different ways. With him, he's elusive and sudden off the line of scrimmage a lot. When we studied these guys, we were able to cut up all these plays off coverage, press coverage. And that was the one thing that really stood out, just his savviness to get off the line of scrimmage and his quickness.
So you figure him to be an X?
I think he can move all around, TD. He's played inside, outside. He's played X, he's played Z. I think we can move him all around.
Gorgonzi last night, after drafting Carnell Tate, number 4 overall. By the way, Willie Donick in charge of the soundtrack today. He's getting ready to run the Rock and Roll Marathon tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go, Willie.
I'm running the half marathon.
I'm sorry, the half marathon.
Don't overhype me.
But this is apparently
I have done
his
the
training
Rock and Roll
playlist.
marathon in Nashville, but that was a long time ago. Going a half.
So this is your training playlist we're playing today
This
to
is
get
part
you in
of
the mood?
it. Part
okay.
of it, yes. Just in a half marathon, you got to have a couple hours worth of songs, right? Just in case. Hopefully, it takes less than 2 hours. But we were going to have some pump up pace music. Went over and got the as they call them, the bibs, your number that you. I'm like 12,700 and something. There are 25,000 runners in this tomorrow. I think that might just be for the half. Then there's the people actually crazy enough to run the full marathon. Then they have a 5K, and a 10K on Sunday.
Oh man!
So it's going to be
running that
nuts.
too, Willie?
But it's I'm not running that. I'm taking the day off on Sunday. I can tell you right now.
Well, you
But
may be
you don't
number
need it.
12,000 and something tomorrow, but you're number 1 in our hearts.
Root me on. And to all of you that are in town running, welcome and good luck tomorrow. Might get a little rain here and there, which is not the worst thing, as long as it's not too bad. But the spectacle of it is really something. So if you're along the pathway, you're waving, you're cheering, I'll see you.
We're talking Carnell Tate, drafted number 4 overall by the Tennessee Titans last night as part of the NFL draft. The Titans also drafted edge rusher Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. The Titans traded back into the first round, swapped some picks with the Buffalo Bills to get an edge rusher at the end of the first round. But as it relates to Carnell Tate, 615-737-1025, we want your reaction all show long to that selection, which came out of left field for a lot of people. And Derek, what I want to know from you is how you would utilize Carnell Tate in this offense and how you would structure the Titans offense now that Carnell Tate is a part of it. One thing we do know about Tate, Derek, is that he will help the Titans stretch the field. He averaged 17.2 yards per reception in 2025. The Titans as a team averaged 9.5 yards per reception last season, which was the second worst total in the league. So from what you've seen of Carnell Tate and what you know of the Titans offense, now under the direction of Brian Daboll, how do you expect the Titans to make sure that Carnell Tate is that number 1 wide receiver for Cam Ward?
Well, I think they got to first decide where they're going to put him, I think, or where is his sort of landing space. Now, they can move him around, but what are you going to classify him? Is he the X? Is he the Z? Which one is? He's not going to be a slot guy because he never really played slot.
And they have Wan'Dale Robinson
and they
for
have
that.
Wan'Dale Robinson. So if it plays out as TD said, he's going to be the X. What I think they need to do, if they want to use him sort of like Malik Neighbors, which I think Malik Neighbors is a different build than him. I thought with Malik Neighbors, you can put him inside, you can put him outside, you can do everything with him. But I'm not sure that Carnell Tate is that versatile. Now, you can throw him in there every once in a while, motion him down to create that bunch and make him the third guy if you're pulling him off the ball. But can you spread him across the formation to whereas it's hard for a team to beat in on him? That's what's so difficult when you have a number one receiver. You got to find ways and be creative to get him open, because if you just say, well, he's going to be an X and you just line him up on the ball every time, it's hard for then that number one receiver. And I'm not sure. This is where when things are said, sometimes I look at it and be like, seriously, the whole, when TD asked him, well, how do you believe he will handle press? Well, they never got pressed. You don't get pressed in college enough to know how the guy is going to react in an NFL game when he's pressed. I think he's going to be okay, but you don't know until you put him in a position where he's pressed more times than not. College, they were not going to press him at Ohio State. If they did, they got beat every time. He's going to get more roll-up coverage and press coverage if he's the X in the NFL that he ever got. So how does he react to that? That's why I say, first and foremost, they got to move him around. They have to find a way where he knows every position. And I'm not basing that on my own experience. When I came in as a rookie, they said learn all three positions. Why? Because I can put you anywhere on the field. That has to be Carnell Tate, because if you put him in X, what if it doesn't work out at X? Then what you going to do, shift him again? No, you put him in all these spots, let him find a home, and then it's okay. Now we can move him around even more.
Got to get him on the field. He's got to get there. So how do you see the flow between all of them? That's what I always am curious about. What does this maybe do to Calvin Ridley?
I don't think it does. Eventually, Calvin Ridley will sort of phase into that number two, unless Carnell Tate is having trouble picking up on the offense or kind of hit that rookie wall. Because as good as I think A.J. Brown's rookie season was, he did hit a wall. His production did sort of stagger just a tad bit. And that was because of, it's they hadn't played this long. They're really not in that condition for the first season. So they just got to – Ridley will slide eventually to the two. They're hoping that Tate is the one. You got Wan'Dale Robinson as your slot. And then those other two guys, it's almost like, okay, well, we're going to make you the X. We're going to make you the Z. DK is going to be another guy where he's going to have to play all across the board because he's a special teams guy. So not only does he have to learn the X, which I'm sure he has, not only does he have to learn the X, he has to learn the H, the Z, and what any other position.
Josh from White House says on our text line, Tate could go for 3,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in every season in his college career, and I still wouldn't be excited for him in this season simply because the fact the Titans drafted him. It's like one of the 7 Achilles heels the Titans have. Only time in him proving it on game days can change my mind. Until a wide receiver breaks the mold, that's how it's going to be.
Like I said in the first segment, it's imprinted on every Titans fan's brain. So you're going to have to overcome this thing that's out there. But I'm much more just wanting to see what he brings to the table. I would love to see them for once just have a guy that immediately gets it. I don't want to hear he's got a hamstring pull, or he's not picking up the offense, or he just needs more time. Now, he is very young. He's 21. Yes. He's not one of these guys who's coming in at 22, 23 like you see a lot of times now. And that's the same is true of the second young man that they picked up as well, Keldrick Falk. He's also 21. So what you get there is you also get, I'm sure, some scouts saying, hey, they're not finished developing. They're still just scratching the surface on what they can be in a couple years. That's why J.C. Latham, I think, still has got a lot of growing he can do. He still, this coming year, will be younger than some college football players, and it'll be in his third year. That is the craziness of what we see. That's what you have to keep in mind now with the college game, the way the athletes are getting older.
I would suggest people to go back and not just look at his highlights. If you have an opportunity or a way to go back and just look at a few games of Ohio State, and I'm sure you can pull them up because it's so recent, and just watch Carnell Tate. I mean, the guy, I don't think there's a flaw in his game, truly. And I'm not saying he's the greatest receiver ever, but what I'm saying is there's no flaw in his game. He runs routes like a little guy. He catches the ball extremely well, whether it be if somebody's off of him, press, or combative catches. He blocks well. So there's nothing that he doesn't do. Again, you just gotta make sure that he develops in a way that you're getting the most production that you
So
possibly
if there's
can at that
nothing
position.
that he doesn't do, why are people?
Because he played behind Jeremiah Smith.
But
and people are just
Do you think
looking
that's
at
the
that.
biggest reason, or is it the 4-5?
I don't even think it's the 4-5 because if you look at it throughout I understand that when you're when you see that 4-3 or that that 4-4 low 4-4, I understand, but there's more than just that. There's more than just speed.
And I've
seen
remember
a bunch of those guys that just flame out.
I remember. I preface this by saying I'm not saying that Carnell Tate is going to become either of these players, okay? But I remember a certain LSU team that had both Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on it.
Yes.
And I don't know who was number 1 and who was number 2. They both turned into outstanding pros.
And that I think is the case with Ohio State. Is they have a track record of having several high-end number 1 receivers on the team. And I would say more often than not, Ohio State has not had the great NFL quarterback, right? They've had some NFL guys, but not star NFL quarterbacks.
Not tier
throwing them
1
the ball.
quarterbacks. Yeah, not tier 1 quarterbacks.
Julian Sayin, right? The starting quarterback
Last
for
year,
the
yeah.
Buckeyes this past
And then
season.
Howard the year before, who had a great year, and they won the national title. But he's a backup. Will Howard.
One texter, Franklin, says, by the way, speaking of the marathon, he says, was listening and I'm in town for the marathon from Phoenix. What advice do you have about the roads in Nashville? Avoid them if you can.
Give yourself a little time to get there tomorrow.
Exactly.
Parking's going to be scarce for sure.
Well, welcome to town, Franklin, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, might be a little hillier than you're expecting
wherever you're coming from,
in Phoenix. For
exactly.
Sure.
Phoenix is a little
Pretty flat.
Yeah. Matthew says, when the pick was made, I legit said no way out loud. Then when I woke up this morning, I had to Google the edge rusher the Titans drafted because I have never heard of him. You can talk me into Tate, but Falk, if I have to Google you, that tells me everything I need to know.
Again, I tell people, listen, just because I don't know about them doesn't mean that they're not relevant or they're not hot or whatever the case may be. I just don't know about some people because I'm at an age group where I'm just not following a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So just because you had known them doesn't mean anything, honestly.
I have to admit, I watch a lot of SEC football. I don't know Auburn's roster super well. When Auburn has played Vanderbilt the last couple of years, both Vanderbilt wins, by the way. So nice to say.
That felt good, didn't
He did not jump out at me or in the broadcast as a, wow, look at this guy. This guy is a first-round pick. Watch out. He was all SEC. But in reading about him, and I know we'll talk about him a little bit more later, and we're focusing on Tate, but it seems like he's got some work to do. He's got physical tools and needs to turn it into production, which is always a tricky thing.
615-737-1025. We're taking your reaction all show long to the Tennessee Titans drafting Carnell Tate at number 4 overall from the Ohio State University. The Titans also drafted edge rusher Keldrick Falk from Auburn at number 31, trading back into the first round from the Buffalo Bills. 615-737-1025. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on Charlotte. First pitch is at 6:04 p.m. exact. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal or a resolution to lose some pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some good news because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle and offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is live, but it's led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will connect with and more. Where am I at? Okay, here we go. And more. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Carnell, congratulations and welcome to the Titans. How much do you know about the Titans and Cam Ward specifically, the chance to work with him?
I've been watching them since the Derrick Henry days, and I'm very excited for Cam Ward being able to go out there and run routes and catch balls from him.
Carnell, did you have any sense that you would go this early to the Titans leading up?
I knew there was a thought, but I didn't have any idea that I was going to go this early.
Carnell, what is it about Ohio State receivers that they've been not only productive at Ohio State, but productive once they've gotten to the NFL? And how do you plan on continuing that?
It starts with Coach Hartline. He pours so much love and attention into us that he allows us and sets us up for the next level. And then that's why our game is so easily able to translate to the next level.
Carnell, congratulations. Coming to the Titans, you're obviously you're welcome. As a number 4 pick, you're obviously going to be the number 1 receiver here. How do you see yourself adjusting to defenses really game planning around you and putting the top cover corners against you week in and week out?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. That's all you could ever want, the best on best. So I'm looking forward to going out there and making plays and helping the organization.
That was Carnell Tate last night. 2 things. One, even Tate himself seemed to be surprised that the Titans drafted him at number 4. And 2, he's been watching the Titans since the Derrick Henry days. That sort of makes me feel old. Like, since the Derrick Henry days. That wasn't that long ago. Just shows how much of a young man he is. It made me feel a little old when I heard that. 615-737-1025. We are live from Chicago's home of chicken and waffles in East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue. Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us at the top of the hour. Let's get to your reaction on the selection of Tate. Let's go to Mike in Old Hickory. Mike, thank you for calling and waiting. Oh, he's gone. Mike is gone. He'll call back. I was just about to pick up his call, and he hung up. Come on, Mike.
Come on.
Come on, Mike.
Stay with it. Be patient.
One texter says, Titans
Let
fans.
the game come to you.
That's true. Titans fans wanted a near guaranteed top flight pass rusher, rather one that nearly no one knew about, in addition to now roughly 15 wide receivers. So far, this draft has become a we'll see how they do instead of a slam dunk on paper. I'd say that's why they are so disgruntled today, and honestly, I don't blame them.
Is there such thing as a slam dunk?
No.
I don't know.
On draft day?
No.
No. I mean, look.
Is Fernando Mendoza a slam dunk?
No.
I saw this chart making the rounds on social media from someone named Kevin Cole. And the chart showed value according to mock draft and big board consensus options. And based on this, the biggest steal in the first round was Keldrick Falk at number 31. And I, again, like Willie said, I would be lying to all of y'all's faces if I said I have watched a single snap of Keldrick Falk at Auburn. So don't ask me for the X's and O's breakdown. But it seems to me that the Titans got value in Falk and perhaps slightly reached on Carnell Tate. But would we argue that the Titans aren't better today than they were yesterday? They have a number 1, theoretically, wide receiver, a young wide receiver. They add another edge rusher to a group that looks impressive on paper.
Okay.
Again, who knows how it's going to work out? If any of you claim you know how it's going to work out, you're lying to all of us. But I can understand why Titans fans were, if they were feeling aggrieved, perhaps, I'm not sure that's the right word, about the selection of Tate because, look, and we've played a part in this too. Titans fans have been conditioned for months that it's going to be Jeremiah Love. And if it's not Love, it's going to be Vrabel-Rousini or David Bailey. Again, I don't know how many people actually thought that Carnell Tate was going to be the pick. Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com, I want to say he polled nearly 200 people. Who's going to be the number 4 overall pick? And one person said Carnell Tate. And I think that one person was Chris Johnson, by the way. So congratulations to Chris Johnson. You nailed it. Everybody else, we had no idea.
Yeah, I think the problem here with people, I think, is one, obviously, because the Titans haven't had a great track record of drafting, developing, and retaining wide receivers over the course of the last 10, 15 years. They just hadn't had a good track record. And then the second is, well, he played alongside Jeremiah Love. Any wide receiver in
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith,
Yes.
it's not Jeremiah Love.
We got to switch Jeremiah.
Exactly. I got to switch my mind.
We're not going to be talking about Love as
Damn
much
it.
now.
Can I say one thing?
The Love trade thing was working. Like
It
yeah,
was.
no,
It
it's,
was.
just-
Man.
it's a shame.
I'm not going to. When I think, and I know that some of you are going to laugh when I say this because of the Tennessee Titans in recent years, but when I think of irrelevant franchises in the NFL, the first one that comes to mind is the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I'm not sure I'm ever going to hear from Jeremiah Love again. He's all the way out there in the desert.
Dang.
So,
Like you don't run across too many people. Maybe the gentleman from Phoenix
Right.
who texted the show is a Cardinals fan. I don't know.
But
But
there's
it's not
not
like
too
you
many
bump
Cardinal
into Cardinals fans
Exactly.
all across the country with the Cardinal hats and stuff. It is kind of an outpost.
I'm sure you can go to certain parts of the U.S. There are no, and I mean no Cardinal fans at
You don't
all.
usually hear, oh, those Cardinal fans, they travel.
Let's go Cardinals. Louisville, probably.
Maybe the
yes.
Louisville Cardinals.
St.
I'm
Louis.
sorry to all the Arizona Cardinals fans who are listening, or
Exactly.
the St. Louis Cardinals. But to me, Jeremiah Love, he might as well be in the Bermuda Triangle,
But,
as far as I'm concerned.
But a lot of this, again, how many of these receivers over the last 2 years would have been a number one over Jeremiah Smith? Let me answer that for you. None of them. And that's the problem that I think some people have. Well, he played number two. He played second fiddle. He didn't get the coverage. The kid, when you go out and watch him, the kid had like his catch rate was off the charts. Like he didn't drop a pass last year. You know how hard that is to go throughout a season. You're being targeted almost 100 times and to not drop the football. Rain, sleet, or snow, he did not. And
0 drops last season.
not only did he not drop the football, but
Pro
he was
Football
one
Focus.
of the best, if not the best, when it comes to combat catches.
12 of
He's
14 last season.
He's
on
a red
contested
throw.
catches.
He's a red zone threat. The reason why he doesn't have a lot of yak is because his average catch downfield, like the average yards the ball traveled downfield, was double digits. So he was never going to be a yards after catch or like yak person. He was going to have some, but a lot of the times he was catching it and going in the end zone because he's a deep ball threat. But if you watch this kid play, you can't help but think, hey man, he's going to be a number one in this league.
I also thought, and I've thought this for a while, Ohio State is a program that could probably play any way they want to play. Like if they wanted to spread it out and score 50 points a game, they could, but they're not like that.
No.
Right? They methodically beat you into the ground. So it's really not an offense where you see these really gaudy stats. And like we said, they haven't had the ridiculously elite quarterback in a couple years. And even when they did, Fields, I'm trying to think of some of the Ohio State quarterbacks, they're used like college quarterbacks, right? They're not throwing it 50 times a game. They have a good running game. They have a great defense with Sonny Styles and all those guys. So it's methodical, I think. So I guess my point is it's a different – any offense you play in college is a different game than the pro game. So it's not always easy to see what translates. But I do lean on the track record of Ohio State has always had 2 or 3 NFL guys in the pass pattern just about every year. Just the names change over the years. And it hasn't been a problem and has not inhibited most of those guys from going on and being really good pros.
So late last month, Matt Miller of ESPN.com published an article ranking Ohio State first-round wide receivers since 2022. And he did it based on their pre-draft rankings. Number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 2, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Number 3, Garrett Wilson. Number 4, Carnell Tate. Number 5, Chris Olave. Number 6, Emeka Egbuka.
Look at that. You're talking about 5-star receivers just up and down the board.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Harrison has left a little bit to be desired.
I would say so.
Well,
Yes.
he's with the Cardinals.
We just got done talking about
Let's just keep dumping on the Arizona Cardinals in this segment.
This poor guy from
the
Phoenix who
Cardinals.
texted us, say, hey, I'm in town. He's like, hey, stop trashing my team.
He said,
I'll
look, he
switch to
know
the
his
station.
team. His team is irrelevant right now at this present moment.
Yeah, this
Even when they
ranking-
went to the Super Bowl, they still wasn't relevant. I mean,
So this ranking from Matt Miller from March said, quote, this isn't taking NFL production or potential into account, only the player's pre-draft report. So again, Harrison 1, Smith and Jigba 2, Garrett Wilson 3, Carnell Tate 4, Chris Olave 5, and Emeka Egbuka 6. Here's what Matt Miller wrote at the time about Carnell Tate. Quote, like several receivers on this list, Tate was never the number one target in Columbus. Even in his final season, he was the secondary option behind Jeremiah Smith, but he has been able to impress in a number 2 role with his routes, toughness, and ability to play above the rim.
and that's what people need to look at, is that this guy was able to flourish and continue to develop all while, behind a lot of these other receivers that are now in the NFL and one that will be in the NFL next season. But he managed to get better. He managed to refine his game. And I think the Titans believe there's still a lot left to be desired because of what they project him to be in this league.
Our friend Franklin from Phoenix has texted back in. He says, I am a Cardinals fan. My cousin is married to Michael Bidwell, who is the owner of the Arizona Cardinals. She's also in town for the marathon with several Cardinals front office staff. Oh, boy.
All right, so I'll be looking for Cardinals.
Well, I'm going to
stuff
say
in
this
the-
still. He's going to go there and he's just going to die in the desert, man. He's going to just, his career is just going to.
I'm sure he's going to be great.
We're jealous.
We're bitter,
We're jealous.
okay?
Yeah,
we're bitter. I'm sure he's going to be great. Jeremiah Love.
Don't worry about him. We'll get him in 4 years. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get him in 4 years.
Because that's the thing everybody said when we were talking about Jeremiah Love. Well, none of these running backs end up going to the Super Bowl with the teams that drafted them. Well, now the Titans are in position to poach Jeremiah Love, and they can continue the trend.
That's my hope.
The love train is still going.
It slowed down a little bit, but it's still there.
The love train is a little delayed. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Chad Withrow from Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow will join us. We'll talk about Carnell Tate in the NFL draft. And I know Chad has a lot of thoughts on the Mike Vrabel scandal. So we will talk about that with him as well. 615-737-1025. Teed up with us at the 5th Annual 615 Open, May 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are once again supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. Registered now to player sponsor at 615open.com. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We are live at Chicago's home of Chicken and Waffles in East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue. Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick. Hi, Chad. How are you?
Doing well, guys.
Thank you for joining us as always. So let's just start with your reaction to the Tennessee Titans drafting Carnell Tate, number 4 overall, out of Ohio State.
I think like most, I was completely shocked when that was the pick at number 4. I was already disappointed because Jeremiah Love was off the board at number 3, and that's who I was hoping the Titans were going to at least have a chance to pick at number 4. And then I was really thinking it was going to be Vrabel-Rousini or Sonny Styles on defense once Jeremiah Love wasn't an option. But I think the Titans really reached on a guy that not many had as a top 5 pick. Now, I'll say on the flip side of that, if they believe that he is truly a number 1 receiver and by far the best receiver on the board, as they stated, then I understand the philosophy for your second-year quarterback.
Chad, finish this.
I'm thinking of that, but, I mean, my reaction in the moment was
Chad, we'll call you right back. We're having some technical difficulties. We'll call you right back, Chad. Well, let's continue the conversation as we are endeavoring to get Chad Withrow back on the line.
His reaction, I think, is, like I said at the beginning, is indicative of, I believe, what the reaction was of a lot of Titan fans. It took a minute to sink in. It was sort of like the joke that was made the other day, and Willie sort of laughed afterwards, like, okay, I got it, and laugh. That's sort of like the Titan fans now. When the initial pick was made, he was like, wow. Now, there may have been some people that were angry that they chose to draft a wide, but I think the consensus was, wow. And then you had to sort of take it in and look at it from a biased standpoint. I think they still got themselves a playmaker, and I think they got themselves a number 1 receiver. And that's what the Titans have been looking for since A.J. Brown left.
Let's go back to Chad Withrow on our phone line as we work through these connection issues. Chads, let's continue the Carnell Tate discussion. Finish this sentence for me, or fill in the blank. In order to quiet the skeptics, Carnell Tate must do what in his rookie season with the Titans?
Be another Ohio State wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, those are some big shoes to fill, right? But, I mean, if he's a boot, and he's going to be a number 1 receiver right away. I mean, guys, it's a top 5 pick. I know if Jeremiah Love's available right there, you bring him in. And Carnell Tate needs to be the number 1 receiver on day 1 and the best pass-catching target for Cam Ward right away to be a success. And I believe more in sports with what I've seen versus with Mike Borgonzi. That's a lot about the unseen. To turn 21-year-old and the mold these guys are and what they can do and not necessarily what they can't do. I also think it's unfair to say, well, he was the number 2 receiver on his college team. Well, the number 1 receiver on this college team is a generational talent, Jeremiah Smith. So I think it's a bit unfair to say that about Carnell Tate, but I do think it's a bit of a reach because we haven't really seen enough from this guy yet from a production standpoint to know. But I'm also not going to sit here and say I know that he can't be a number 1 receiver because I think he does have some of those traits.
Chad, I know that you have been following the Mike Vrabel, Dianna-Russini scandal closely. I want you to peer into your crystal ball for me for a moment. Where is Mike Vrabel 2 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now? How do you think this story continues to unfold?
When the news came out that he was going to go seek counseling starting Saturday, that was the first time I allowed myself to think he might be in trouble here with his job. there could be a suspension, or he may lose his job, or he may resign. It's the first time I really allow myself to even think that professionally he was going to be in trouble in all of this. Now, my crystal ball, and he's probably going to go on some sort of sabbatical, and he's going to come back and he's going to talk about how he's refocused and recentered, and he's ready to go with his top professional obligation to his New England Patriots. And I think it's going to be business as usual. He talked about speaking to the team. You know, a big question I have is, does he lose credibility with his team? Because part of the Mike Vrabel mystique is, you know, he's a guy who's all about accountability, and he's rough and tumble, and he's tough, and he's cocky, he's arrogant, and that rubs off on his team in a good way a lot of times. Well, that mystique is sort of gone right now with Mike Vrabel. It's not sort of gone, it is gone. So how do you regain that with your players? How do you make sure they still respect you? I think those are all big questions Mike Vrabel is going to have to answer moving forward. But I did allow myself to think that he might be in trouble professionally for the first time. Now, the whole counseling part of this, and now he's saying he's going to be with his family. I think he's going to be counseled by his wife on this. That's really what's happening, is a retreat to the home to try to settle things there is what's going on. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance, but I think that chance is small. And I think this time, you know, next year he's going to be finishing up another draft or a part of it as the coach of the New England Patriots.
Now, Chad, how do you think the Titans proceed, you know, moving forward? Obviously, they don't have a second-round pick. Do you think they will try to find a way to get back into the second round if indeed they see a guy that they have earmarked and he's still on the board late in the second round? How do you think they did as far as moving back up into the draft and getting a guy that they wanted, and a guy that sort of filled a hole at the pass rushing position? But what do you think they go moving forward now?
Yeah, D-Mace, it's going to be interesting. I mean, they filled two big spots that they needed. They need a receiver. They need a pass rusher. They also need offensive linemen. They need a tight end. They need a linebacker. You know, they need a lot of different positions in this draft. So my hope was when they couldn't get Love, they were going to be able to trade back and pick up another second-round pick. And then you're looking at three starters, right? You could draft someone mid-first round and then two second-round picks. You're basically drafting three starters to come in and be difference maker and building blocks for your team. Now that they traded back into the tail end of the first round, they lose that second-round pick tonight. They're not drafting to somewhere in the 60s, I think, tonight in the third round. I would be interested in trying to move up with all those late-round picks that they have, if possible, to get back into the second round. If, let's say, Stowers at tight end, or just name the player, whoever they might be in love with at a position of need like that, if you could move up and possibly get that guy, I think I'd be all for the Titans. But because the needs of this team, there's a lot of possibilities of what position they could go with when they pick again, whether that be in the third round or if they move into the second.
Now, how do you think they proceed with this wide receiver crew? In particular, obviously, Carnell Tate. Do you think they, thrust him in and make him the number one also, off the bat? Or do you think they sort of go through this process and allow him to learn it and then insert him? Because he's going to have to be, regardless of how they do it, he's going to have to be their guy eventually at some point in the season.
Yeah, look, I think he needs to be a star from day one. I'm not cutting him any slack because he was a number 2 receiver at Ohio State or this or that. Like they drafted him, and Brian Daboll, who had a big hand in this draft offensively, they wanted this guy. So I want him to be a rookie star in the NFL. So I think the plan is you just drafted your number 1 receiver and you build around him. And you got a guy now that's got a bigger catch radius than anything that Cam Ward's been throwing to. So I think that will help them. You've had to be incredibly accurate to complete passes to this receiving crew. I think Carnell Tate gives you a little bit more wiggle room with what he can do. So I think you got a guy who can go up and get the ball when it's in traffic, and you got the number 1 receiver from day one. I mean, that's the plan. Mike Borgonzi is the only one who truly knows the plan he has for these players, and of course the coaches also. But for me, you draft a wide receiver 4th overall, especially on a team that's as bad as the Titans that are coming off back-to-back 3-win seasons. He's your number 1 receiver the moment he arrives in that facility.
Chad Withrow is with us. Chad, I'm envisioning these high heaters that Cam Ward throws, that from that 3-quarter spot, just coming in red hot. I hope he's good at catching that particular kind of pass, because that's what he's going to see.
Yeah, I mean, look, inaccuracy was an issue for Cam Ward in year one also. So I think you combine that with needing to be pinpoint accurate, because you had a group of receivers that didn't have the biggest catch radius. It was a recipe for disaster at times for the Titans. And, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to be on the same page. And I think, guys, just where the Titans are right now, there's no luxury picks, right? There's no developmental picks. That's where I'm scratching my head on some of these, because these guys need to be leaders. They do not have a strong enough locker room outside of Jeffrey Simmons where you feel like, okay, they can just kind of go along for a little while. You are drafting the foundation of your organization. The way that Mike Borgonzi, who's working in Kansas City, saw with all those draft picks around those years with Patrick Mahomes, you are drafting guys that need to be leaders for this team. So Carnell Tate needs to be, if he's not the leader, he needs to be a leader in that wide receiver room right off the bat. And same goes for Keldrick Falk, who I completely disagree with trading up to get him, but they clearly love the guy that had 2 sacks his entire last year at Auburn. So you got to pick that production up also. But Willie, I think he's got to be a leader too. That's the thing about these guys. You can't just go and just be a player. Like I think you're building the culture and identity of this whole team with this draft.
So, Chad, I want to envision the offense now, presuming that it's Tony Pollard and company. Maybe they add somebody to the mix here with a draft pick in the next couple of days. But are we looking at an offense that's really going to sling it now with a lot of the investments they've made with Wan'Dale Robinson and now Tate in the mix? Like, how many times are they going to throw it per game with a second-year quarterback?
Yeah, Willie, it feels like an offense that's going to take a lot more shots down the field, right? Just with the skill set of these guys. I know Wan'Dale Robinson's sort of a wiggle-type player and run-after-catch guy at times, but you look at the amount of 40-plus yard receptions or 35-plus yard TD receptions for Carnell Tate and just how high of a percentage that was of all of his touchdowns. I mean, I think you now are looking at a Brian Daboll offense that wants to challenge teams deep more, and they're getting some guys that they feel like can do that. I know Carnell Tate didn't have the best 40 time, but he has been a guy who can get free down the field and he can go up and get the ball. So I think it's going to be a team that's going to take more shots down the field. How successful they'll be, well, that goes a long way in determining how successful this draft was. Because I think how successful they're going to be is how good is Cam Ward at doing it, and then how good is your number one wide receiver that you just took 4th overall.
Chad, with Falk, let's come back to him for a minute. You watch a lot of SEC football, and I admit, like, they're year in and year out, I've never watched the SEC looking for individual stars, at least outside of probably Vanderbilt and to a point Tennessee, because that's the teams we cover, right? I want to know the NFL prospects on those teams. And so I'm not studying Auburn as much. But did you know about Falk for a while? Did you think first-round pick? Like, I do wonder about the production thing, even though he clearly has a lot of tools.
Yeah, he was the one guy, Willie, on their defense that I had heard a lot about. Every broadcast or every Auburn game I watched, they talked a lot about Falk being a really good player that really, pressures quarterbacks and is tough to deal with for an offensive line. And I know that he got some special treatment from offensive lines, and I understand that sacks aren't everything, but when you look at the amount of games he played to only rack up 10 sacks, I think it was, in 38 games or something like that, he had 2 a year ago, I would just like to see someone you're moving up to get have a little bit more production. Now, what Mike Borgonzi's looking at is he's looking at the traits. He's looking at what this guy could be at the next level, right? He's not looking as much at production. I'm just way more on the seen versus the unseen. And I don't know enough from Keldrick Falk. I do think that he's a good player. And I'm not saying he can't be a good player for the Titans. I'm just saying if you're going to move up and not move back, which I think the Titans should have done to get more picks because they need more players, you better be really sure this guy is going to be good from day one. There's no luxury picks here again, right? There's no one you can sit and wait on. These guys have to produce, and they got to be starters, and they got to be good starters the moment they get to the Titans. And it's a tough ask for both of these guys.
Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Friday. Chad, as always, a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch up next week.
Absolutely, guys. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.
615-737-1025. When we come back, the latest on Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini. And I know there are a lot of you who are tired of hearing about this story.
Are they, though? Not based on my Twitter feed.
I mean, based on our reactions, a lot of you can't get enough. But we have to talk about the potential impact this story could have had on the Tennessee Titans, because there are ways it could have. And we'll discuss it coming up next. 615-737-1025. All of our offseason football coverage here on 1025 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brewworks. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brewworks, proud partner and official craft beer of the football offseason coverage here on 1025 The Game.
Can you explain how over just the last 2.5 weeks we go from your original statement about any insinuation that the photos were anything other than innocent was laughable to your comments Tuesday to now deciding to go to counseling? What is that process?
Well, that's a private and personal matter. I don't think that those comments. I think that was always an attempt to protect your family, and I would never be dismissive. But no, I think my family and this football team are the most important thing, and that's what I plan to do. And I'm excited about the challenge with both of those things.
That was Mike Vrabel yesterday before the NFL draft. In case you couldn't hear the question, he was asked, how did you go from calling the photos in the New York Post laughable to now needing to step away from the team because of the fallout? And that was his response. By the way, there is a new report courtesy of TMZ. According to TMZ, Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini, Arizona photog, not Private Eye, was not hired by a spouse. TMZ writes, the photographer who snapped the pics of Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini looking all cozy in Arizona was not a private investigator hired by a scorned spouse, despite the internet rumor. In the wake of the Page 6 photos, a theory has emerged online, with fans speculating that Jen Vrabel, wife of the Patriots head coach, or Kevin Goldschmidt, the NFL insider's husband, recruited a PI to catch Vrabel and Russini in the act. As juicy as that would have been, it just ain't the truth. In reality, TMZ Sports has learned a local couple happened to be vacationing at Ambiente, a luxury boutique resort in Sedona, Arizona on March 28th, just like Mike and Dianna. We're told the husband is a big sports fan, and he recognized Vrabel, so they snapped several pics showing them lounging at the pool and in the hot tub.
So what happened? So who took the other pictures?
Who knows?
The other pictures that are out here that are circulating
from years ago in the New York Park. Yeah, that's a good question. I was listening to
Pablo Torre.
Yeah.
Pablo Torre, and he had a really detailed podcast about this whole thing. He didn't have a ton of information necessarily that was new, but one tidbit that he shared was that the person who took the pictures knew who Mike Vrabel was, did not know who Dianna Russini was. So that would check out with TMC's report of this was not a hired gun who knew that the two were perhaps having an affair and wanted confirmation. So apparently the photographer took the pictures to TMZ and said, I got some pictures of Mike Vrabel and a woman that's not his wife. This is according to Pablo Torre. And TMZ was like, oh, well, we're not that interested, because they didn't put together what the story would be if you knew who the woman was, right? It went to a whole nother level.
Right. That was
point.
The point Pablo Torre was making.
I can, those pieces of information together do check out plausibly that it wasn't somebody hired by one of the spouses.
At that time, it probably wasn't.
Right.
But again, there are other things and other pictures. What are other pictures?
Right, as we found out yesterday.
Exactly.
And how many more will come out?
Absolutely. So somebody was just, I guess if people were just randomly taking pictures of Mike Vrabel, they decide, we want to put out now. I'm not even talking about the Sedona one.
You're talking about the one in New York from 6 years ago.
Exactly.
But it also falls in line with something else that Torre uncovered, which I don't think will surprise most people who follow the Titans, is that it was a well-known thing.
It was an open secret.
An open thing that everybody knew. Russini and Vrabel are constantly hanging out. There was the reference of Jay Glazer's party with a lot of the coaches that he does every year, and her sort of competing party that she recruited Vrabel to come to and a couple other people to try to keep up. I would say if you're really into this, Pablo Torre's thing will give you some good food for thought on how all of this works, the dynamics behind the scenes, and relationships and how they form and the blurred lines that start happening.
And the point Torre was making, as you mentioned, Willie, the person who took the photos reportedly recognized Mike Vrabel but did not recognize Dianna Russini. And I believe Torre made this point. Had the person taking the photos also recognized Russini, those photos would have been even juicier and may have been worth paying up for if you were TMZ. TMZ, of course, passed on the initial photos, and then they went to page 6 of the New York Post. But I know there are some of you out there who do not care about this story because Vrabel doesn't coach the Tennessee Titans anymore. But the photos released by the New York Post yesterday of Vrabel and Rousini cozying up to each other in a New York bar were reportedly taken in March 2020 when Vrabel was coaching the Tennessee Titans. That adds another layer to this story. And it is worth discussing how their relationship, which appears romantic in some form, could have affected the Titans. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk published a story yesterday about how Rousini's relationship with Vrabel could have influenced her reporting. And he used the Julio Jones trade as an example. So here is some of Florio's story. Quote, in May 2021, Russini reported that the Falcons, quote unquote, have discussed several offers for wide receiver Julio Jones, including an offer of a future first-round pick. The report, under a headline that proclaimed Atlanta Falcons have offer of a first-round pick for Julio Jones, sources say, created a clear impression that the Falcons had an offer in hand of a first-round pick for Jones. Her report also downplayed the Titans' chances of landing Jones, calling them a long shot, quote unquote. Ultimately, the Titans acquired Jones and a 2023 sixth-round pick for a 2022 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick. Florio continues. So how did the reporting potentially help the Titans? Putting out the word that the Falcons had been offered a first-round pick could have had a chilling effect on any team that may have been considering offering a second-round pick. Calling the Titans a long shot allowed them to maneuver quietly for Jones. Given the relationship between Vrabel and Rousini, it is not crazy or reckless to wonder whether her reporting was directly or indirectly connected to the effort to help the Titans get Jones on the best possible terms.
And that's why I said it's all of it. From her end, from a journalistic end, it's not good. But then from a coaching standpoint, it's not good because you're feeding information to an individual that has the power to put it out and swing it anyway, whether it be for your team or against your team. Because we've talked about this ad nauseum when they end up parting ways. She fired him. My guess was she just got tired of stuff coming out that was so pro coach and against the organization. Anybody after a while to get tired of that, and that is what was coming out by who? Russini. Everything was pro Vrabel, and it wasn't for the organization. So that's you put your team in a compromising position,
right?
In a sense.
And in this case, it was everybody on the same team because, in theory, Florio's point is
so it works either way.
That might have worked in the Titans' favor,
independently of how Julio Jones worked out
cheaper
here, which did not
than
work
he
out.
would have. Well, I mean, it would have been worse if they gave up a first-round pick to get him, right? Because we know his production for the Titans was minimal at best. But this is what complicates things again. And this has been, to me, the thing that is the most interesting thing to discuss from a sports journalism side. I would have to say that the Peter Gammonses, the Adam Schefters, the Buster Olneys, the top national reporters who have, over the years, mostly been male, they've been used like that. You said it yourself. They've been used to manipulate the national picture, the story, any number of times, year after year after year. There's nothing different about Russini doing this other than now we know she appeared to be in a, intimate, some sort of level of intimate relationship. But that the net result isn't any different than if Mike Vrabel were to have used Adam Schefter for that same dynamic. Let's give Adam Schefter info. Hey, we're lukewarm or whatever it was. Let's put the story out there that, it's a second and a fourth. We're whatever she did. Exactly the same thing that was put out by Schefter. I don't think anybody bats an eye about it, right?
And Torre made the point on his podcast that Jay Glazer hosts a day drinking event at the owners' meetings where 28 of the 32 coaches show up, and Nobody looks at Jay Glazer any differently. Now, Jay Glazer does not fashion himself as a journalist. He is more of the insider. Russini fashioned herself as both an insider and a reporter. And there are plenty of examples of reporters who think of themselves
and
that
the
way.
Athletic has a definition of standards, right, for their employees.
So Glazer plays a little fast and loose. I mean, doesn't he train players in MMA and things of that nature? But because, frankly, he's a man, we don't look at it the same way. But to the point about Julio Jones that Florio makes, Eagles fans are experiencing this right now, because I think Eagles fans think that Dianna Russini was working on behalf of Vrabel to get A.J. Brown from Philadelphia to New England. I mean, there are a lot of tentacles in the story outside of the salacious nature of the photo.
Of course it is. I mean, anytime you get two individuals from the same world, but, their relationship isn't one that is, acceptable. And it shouldn't be. You're going to have things like this happen. Whether if it was a guy that did this, obviously it wouldn't be, unless something happened within the relationship that affected football, then it would be a big story. But if it didn't affect football, then people wouldn't care. But when you insert, a female, then the whole dynamics change, regardless of what you set off to report or not. The dynamics change when things like that happen.
It's just got to be extremely frustrating for female reporters, journalists, etc., that are seeing all of this stuff, because it's clear that there's an advantage for being a buddy guy to coach that's much more difficult to navigate if you're a woman, right? Because of the dynamic that we're seeing here.
One person on our YouTube chat says, being around 28 coaches is different than cozying up to one.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, listener, and I appreciate you listening. But Tori also made this point. How would people feel if you just replaced Jay Glazer with Dianna Russini, and Dianna Russini was organizing day drinking events featuring 28 of the 32 NFL coaches?
No,
can't be done.
You can't do it. So women have to be extra careful. And one texter says on our text line, it's not good they allegedly slept together. We don't know that.
Well, but
other coaches feed information for their benefit all the time, I would say. You are absolutely right. I can put myself in that same situation. There were times when I was reporting on the Predators, when I would get calls from agents looking for me to take up for one of their players who they felt were being mistreated by the Predators, underutilized by the Predators. And you have to sift through it all, because the agent, the coach, the GM, they all have a certain interest. They all have a certain viewpoint that they want you to parrot to the public. And you have to be incredibly careful about everything you're hearing. And look, I am fascinated by how this plays out for Mike Vrabel. I heard Albert Breer on Boston radio this morning talking about how Vrabel just hasn't been the same over the past couple of weeks. And I do wonder, look, when I watched those news conferences from Mike Vrabel, the one he did yesterday, the one he did earlier this week, he looks nothing like the Mike Vrabel I'm used to seeing, especially when he was here. The cockiness isn't there. The arrogance isn't there. And I wonder if the Patriots retain Vrabel, and it looks like they're going to. And by the way, Roger Goodell said on ESPN last night that this is a team matter and does not fall under the league's personal conduct policy. We can argue with that. But I do wonder if a diminished Vrabel has an effect on the New England Patriots. Do they become a significantly worse team year over year if their head coach is not in the right headspace? I do wonder about that.
I'd be surprised. I think it would seem to me that his goal, based on what he said, was to just go away for a while during the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how much could he do out of the spotlight, maybe even out of the office, not even being in the office, but still be kind of the chief that's leading things from afar? You could probably do that for a few months. Will that affect how well the Patriots play when the season starts? I don't know. But I think when he feels like he's ready to come back, and just like everything else, I do think the public will get tired of the whole thing unless there's new information that keeps coming out. I find it hard-pressed to believe if Russini's not working and all of the cards have been played about whatever photos, and it's pretty obvious what happened. We don't need to see any more photos now to know what happened. It will quote be over, and he can move on. Now where she goes, I don't know. That's the sad part for her on how this happened. But you make your own bet.
I mean, if this team doesn't win or reach that point that they reached last year, that's going
People
to be
will
the
ask
speculation.
questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did that, enable this team? Was he fully focused on his team? And listen, it would be a honest, it would be a question that should be asked. If you don't replicate what you did last year or a playoff team, then the next question is, was he able to give full attention to his team?
Do you think at one point, Adam, at some point in this, maybe it's June or July, slow news time, or maybe a couple weeks before training camp, he does a sit down with somebody?
Oprah? No.
maybe when his, I don't know anybody in his family. I don't, like we talked about, that's the sad part for his kids, his wife, to watch this happen publicly. Whenever they get all of that out on the table privately in their counseling, whatever they're going through as a group, I can see a situation where whether his wife is sitting by his side or not, maybe he does an interview to kind of just come clean and say, look, this relationship started a long time ago. It was a mistake, etc. And he looks more human instead of the deflective, I'm saying the minimum, I'm saying what I got to say to try to make this go away, and I'm failing at doing it. I think that might be something that could help him avoid what you're saying, where it's still lingering over everybody.
615-737-1025. We see your phones and texts. We'll get to them next. 615-737-1025. Also, coming up at 5, Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition. So if you've got questions about Carnell Tate, we've got an expert right here. This guy played a couple years in the NFL at wide receiver. So if you have a question for Derek Mason about Carnell Tate, it is Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition coming up at 5 o'clock. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. I'm imagining Willie Donick jogging down the street.
That's right.
Tell us the, what's behind the playlist? What songs are you looking for? What kind of vibe are you seeking?
Early in the race,
rhythm.
you got to get the groove. It's a little more mellow, and then as the race goes on, you want a little more motivational, a little more upbeat.
Get you across that line of scrimmage.
I mean, Michael Jackson, we're working day and night. We worked hard to get ready for the half marathon, and the movie comes out this weekend,
Yes,
right?
you're right. Willie, on your playlist at the end, it has to be dun, 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 dun,
A Little Rocky?
Oh, there's no question. It's in there. It's in there.
Dun, 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 as you finish it up.
Well, we're talking about the latest in the Dianna Russini, Mike Vrabel saga. Mike Vrabel stepping away from the Patriots, at least for day 3 of the draft. That's tomorrow. Maybe longer. He seemed to leave the door open to that during his brief news conference yesterday. But we're talking about how this could have impacted the Titans. And we mentioned the story from Mike Florio talking about Dianna Russini's reporting around the Julio Jones trade and how perhaps Russini's reporting, her relationship with Vrabel, could have led to the Titans getting a better deal on Julio Jones than most people originally thought.
It'd just be a really interesting thing to study if you had all of the reports pieced together to ask yourself, how was this manipulated? Because we have to emphasize that it's not just these two. There are a lot of interactions of media and coaches and owners, GMs, players, probably agents who are doing the same thing. It's the same dynamic, but it's the uniqueness of the relationship and two married people. That's what separates it.
One texter says, and Jay Glazer was making out with Coach Vrabel. Y'all are spinning the crap out of this, really twisting the situation. If a male reporter was making out with a coach, it would be an even bigger deal. Okay, let's go back a minute.
Yeah.
So first of all, as I said before, I would not consider Jay Glazer a journalist. I don't know Jay Glazer. I would assume he does not hold himself to typical journalistic standards.
And his employer does not hold him to those standards, probably, right?
So
Fox?
Absolutely.
So
they can't.
because at the end of the day, Jay Glazer gets the scoops. So when he posts a video of himself with 28 of the 32 head coaches at a day drinking event that he's been organizing for quite some time, it doesn't undermine his credibility for a lot of people. In fact, it probably reinforces it because, hey, look, he's in tight with these coaches. So if Jay Glazer says something, you probably got to believe him.
Well, I guess it goes both ways. If there's a story that is,
we do have breaking news unrelated to this from Joe Tipton of On3. Tyler Tanner has declared for the NBA draft.
Ooh.
According to Joe Tipton, Vanderbilt star guard Tyler Tanner has declared for the NBA draft. He told at On3.
Okay.
So does that mean he still can come back now?
He could.
Yeah. After he get his evaluation, he still can come back.
How do you feel about that, Willie?
Really?
Is he making the right choice? Bias aside, do you think he's making the right choice going to the NBA this year?
I honestly, I think he could use another year getting better as an outside shooter and getting a little bit stronger. I think he is destined to play in the NBA for a long time. But I see room for development in the way you can get paid now to do it. I think he could use another year. But look, we'll see. Is he going to be drafted in the first round?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the key. If you're going to go,
I mean,
I would say it's borderline.
But it has to be a lottery
borderline.
pick.
You would say second round, definitely.
No, I'm saying
round.
I wouldn't keep my name in there if I'm not sure I'm going to be a first round pick.
But past the top 15, nothing's guaranteed, right?
Definitely not in the second round.
Yeah, definitely
right?
not in the second round. Yeah. And my thing is, if after your evaluation, because obviously he still has an opportunity to change his mind after your evaluation. If you're not a lottery pick, once you have that evaluation, do you still keep yourself in the draft?
First round
that'd be the
draft picks
question.
are guaranteed rookie scale contracts. I believe that's how it works.
So all first rounders.
I believe that is
so.
true.
Yeah, if you're not a first round pick, then that's when you got to readjust.
So he must have some people that he trusts telling him that he's going to be in the first round.
I mean, the kid's good, but like you, Willie, I just think he needs to get stronger. Now, listen, he can get stronger in the offseason. I get it. And putting him in a pro program and from weights and all of that other stuff, and you can just dedicate yourself on that and solely that in no school. So I'm sure that he can get up to speed. But having him back at Vandy, I think it would benefit him. You know, again, he can get stronger. But if they feel he's a first round pick, man, take your shot and see what happens. I think he's a good enough player to play in the league. So, you know.
So Joe Tipton of On3 reporting that Tyler Tanner has declared for the NBA draft. As Tipton notes, the 6-foot sophomore averaged 19.5 points, 3.6 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 2.4 steals per game this season, earning first team All-SEC and SEC All-Defensive Team honors. We'll take your reaction to that. Let's get back to...
I think it's the outside shot that I would think is going to be the question for him in the NBA. I think he can get to the rim. He's a great finisher for his size, can finish lefty, righty, you know, with all the space you have. But if he is not a great three-point shooter, that will make it tougher for him to do his thing. That's why I think another year of developing his shot in particular. The strength, I think, will happen over time. But the jump shot would be my biggest question mark as a scout.
B-Man on our text line says, I wonder if Amy Adams knew about this affair, and if so, did that help Mike out the door? Swept under the rug type of stuff. Derek, you have mentioned that as a possibility. You have wondered if Amy Adams Strunk knew something was up with Mike Vrabel and Dianna-Russini, and perhaps that influenced her decision to fire him when she did.
How much of an influence it was, I don't know. It could have been just, okay, this is just icing on the cake. There's enough stuff that has gone on with this organization. It doesn't seem like anything that is coming out is pro-organization. And then possibly maybe if you sort of get wind of something potentially happening with a journalist / reporter that is reporting stuff on your team that is not in favor of you, then yeah, mate, that could have been a contributing factor. I'm not saying it was, we're firing him because he's doing this. No, I don't think that was the case. I just think it was a addition possibly to other things that were going on that
Adam in Portland says, if they were just a couple of terrible people out there doing their own thing, it would be no one's business, but that is definitely not the case. He helped her job, so I'm not really sure how she bounces back from this. Most other industries, you would be toast. And that is an open question. What does Dianna-Russini decide to do? If she decides to leave the journalism business, she never has to address this. But if she wants to remain an NFL insider, before she can do that credibly, she has to spill her guts. If she wants to do this job again, the first thing she has to do, especially if she doesn't go out on her own. Well, actually, even if she does go out on her own, let's say she starts her own podcast, starts her own Substack. First story, first podcast better be a tell-all, basically. If you want, you have to throw yourself on the sword, so to speak, before you can build yourself back up. But I remain skeptical that she is going to be able to come back from this and be a credible NFL reporter.
I think tell-all would be, I think it would be
horrible
if Vrabel is still coaching, that's a factor to doing the tell-all. But I do think you have to admit wrongdoing, I guess, to some point. Admit that you knew you violated the ethical code and the code put out by your employer. That's a big thing. And then misled the employer when it came out. I still wonder if they could have navigated this better if they had acknowledged a relationship and not put definitions on it, but said, yeah, we've known each other for a long time and probably wasn't the best idea. It's a bad look. Instead of saying, this is laughable. We were there with friends, which was just not.
She
true.
doesn't owe anybody, nor does he, particulars. They don't know
Right. I
outside
agree
of
with
their
that.
family.
I agree with
Outside
that.
of their family, they don't owe anybody any particulars. Their family and their employer. That's it. That's why getting on and giving this tell-all story, you further lose credibility as a journalist. Just tell people, hey, listen, I made a mistake. I owned up to it. There was an affair. You don't have to go into it. That's all people want to hear. You can drag it along as long as you want to in a particular segment. You can make that segment on your Substack or whatever your first segment and get people to listen and watch. But you're never telling the particulars. You're just saying, hey, listen, there was an infidelity. It shouldn't have happened. Talk with my family. Just go through that. You don't have to you don't owe any particulars to anybody outside of your family and your employer.
Here's a question we'll never know. Do you think she could have gotten the same stories by just having a close working relationship with him and not anything that crossed the line?
I don't know.
If
We'll
she was
never
just
know
a
the answer.
likable
Yeah,
person,
you never know the answer.
we'll never know the answer to that. But to me, I think that's the lesson here is a close relationship between media and a coach is in bounds. But certainly an intimate relationship as a couple, obviously that's way out of bounds.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on Mike Vrabel. We'll see if anything comes out this weekend. There seems to be a steady drip, drip, drip of new photos, new details, and we'll continue talking about it because it's the top story in the NFL. It's overshadowing the NFL draft. But coming up next, we will get back into the NFL draft. The Tennessee Titans drafted Carnell Tate number 4 overall. It is time for Ask D-Mace, Carnell Tate edition. So if you have a question for Derek about Carnell Tate, how he might be used in the Titans offense, Derek's expectations for Carnell Tate, text us 615-737-1025. We will get to that coming up next. But before we do, today, Vanderbilt baseball takes on Texas at Hawkins Field. First pitch is at 6. Catch all the action here on 1025. The game coverage is presented by Gary Force Acura. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David James here with you. We are live at Chicago's home of chicken and waffles in East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue, right down the road from my house, right down the road from Willie Donick's house. It is a great spot. Our draft night coverage will be here coming up later tonight on Sports Talk 8:30.
Just an added tidbit on something that just hit minutes ago before the last hour that Tyler Tanner has declared for the NBA draft. He has until May the 2nd to either stay or not stay. So there's still plenty of scenarios where he could come back to Vanderbilt if he wants, or to college basketball.
Okay. So there's still time.
Well, I think there's still some optimism that he will end up back at Vanderbilt. There's
testing the waters, perhaps.
Oh, there's no question he's testing the waters,
yes,
or else he wouldn't do this.
Of course.
But once again, it comes down to how much of a surefire first-round pick are you? How much money would you get to stay? How much money would you make based on where you would be drafted? And the developmental part. Is there more growing you can do before you enter the league for good?
Last night, the Tennessee Titans drafted Carnell Tate with the 4th overall pick in the NFL draft. Carnell Tate, over 3 seasons at Ohio State, 121 receptions, 1,872 yards, and 14 touchdowns last season, 51 receptions, 875 yards, an average of 17.2 yards per reception, and 9 touchdowns. So since we are seated next to an outstanding NFL wide receiver, we are going to do Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition. 615-737-1025. If you have questions about Carnell Tate that only Derek Mason can answer, text us right now, 615-737-1025. We'll start with Dwight from Fairview on our text line. He says, D-Mace, I know there are certain things draft picks do once they are drafted to the team, like meeting people, playbook, etc. Is there anything different that happens for a high wide receiver draft pick?
You're in there earlier. That's about it. You're in there earlier. You're in there the day after you get drafted. And once you get down in the lower picks, you're not really coming until, camp for the rookies. They will send you everything you need. But outside of that, if you're outside of that first round and possibly even a second round, you're not showing up until the rookies show up. But that's really the difference, is that you're going to get an opportunity to meet everybody a lot sooner than, the second rounders and anybody beyond that.
One texter says, D-Mace, what would you describe as a successful rookie year for Carnell Tate?
I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the numbers of, say the last 5 wide receivers that I've had that were drafted first round or high first round picks. Ted McMillan, he was over, I think, 1,100 yards last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Ted McMillan last season for the Carolina Panthers, 70 receptions, 1,014 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns.
Okay. So he was just below 1,100 yards.
Malik Neighbors in his rookie season, 109 receptions, 1,204 yards, 7 touchdowns.
So again, and that's what I was thinking about. Well, you come in, and what would be considered a sort of a bar that he has to reach? And I think it does have to be that 1,000 yards.
I was about to say, does it start with 1,000 yards?
I think it has to be, because anything below that, people are going to say, unless, and then that too would be sort of a blow. Unless he misses games, even that wouldn't be beneficial for him nor the Titans. But if he doesn't reach that 1,000-yard threshold, or is an impact player, because even though A.J. Brown wasn't a first-round draft pick, he just missed, I think he may have just missed 1,000 yards, or he had 1,000 yards, but he was an impact player. You saw the impact of that team when he was on the field. You saw how much of an impact. That's what it needs to be for Carnell Tate.
A.J. Brown in his rookie season, 52 receptions, 1,051 yards, 8
so that's
touchdowns.
It has to be that. It has to be 1,000 yards. The touchdowns, okay, but it has to be trending toward this can potentially be a double-digit touchdown guy. That's what it has to be. Anything short of that, people are going to start to wonder, and they're going to panic.
I misread my information. Tyler Tanner has until May 27th. Did I say May 2nd?
I believe you said May 2nd.
That's a little different. It's May 20. He has all the way until May 27th to stay in or get out.
Good to know. Adam in Portland says, here's my Ask D-Mace question. If you take Carnell Tate off of the Ohio State Buckeyes and put him on the Vanderbilt Commodores, does he get drafted at number 4?
With Diego, I think his numbers would have been higher. I honestly think his numbers would have been higher.
Oh, I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, he would have been the number 1 guy, flat out.
I don't know if that changes his draft position,
Yeah.
but I think his numbers would have been.
Yeah, I think his numbers
He
would
would
have
have
been
had the
better.
ball thrown to him more, probably.
He would have been more of a featured
And it's
wide
not like they had
receiver.
nobody else. They had Eli Stowers, and they had
Exactly.
some other guys that were pretty good. Like flip him for Richardson as the number 1
Richardson,
guy.
Ohio State.
Yeah,
We have Carnell Tate here at Vanderbilt.
I'd like to see that.
I think the numbers would have been better. And if he's the same receiver, Bill, everything is across the board the same from his from the intangibles or the metrics. I think he still is a top 4 receiver in the Titans' eyes.
One texter says, with Tate's build and skill set, where do you think is the position to make him flourish? Where on the field, I assume?
To me, because I've seen a lot of these receivers, whether it be smaller receivers, bigger receivers, you're trying to get matchups. That's what you're trying to do. So for me to say, well, he needs to, for me, okay, let's say it this way. He's a big body wide receiver. He's a big guy. You typically want to put those guys on the ball because they are more adept to press coverage. They can get off press coverage, big bodies. So naturally you would want to put him as the X because that's where he flourished at Ohio State. But when you get in the league and you are a playmaker like they want him to be, you have to be able to play across the board. You just have to. You got to be able to play inside, outside, motion down. You have to be able to do all these things. Now, the one thing he may not do is the whole jet sweep stuff and all that other stuff, but you're drafting him that high. He has to have the ability to play every wide receiver position out there.
Let me ask you a question as part of Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition. We have mentioned he was excellent last season at contested catches. According to Pro Football Focus, 12 of 14 on contested catches. In his career at Ohio State, he was 22 of 32. That's 68.8%. What makes him so good at catching the ball in tight spaces against defenders?
I think it's his concentration and his ability to go up and get the ball, catching it at its highest point. That means you have great hands. You have confidence in your hands that, no matter who's around, you're going to go up and you're going to compete for the ball. He is a competitor. Guys that, especially that big frame, because that's what they're looking for you to do. You can't run by me, so they say. So what they're going to do is throw these jump balls. So sometimes it makes it difficult. But what he has shown in college, now it was college, but what he has shown in college is that, he more times than not will come up with the 50-50 balls. Now, in the NFL, I don't expect it to be 68% or 70% of the combative catches. Now, if it's that, then this kid's going to be outstanding. And I mean outstanding. But if it's somewhere in that 50 range, I think a little bit higher possibly, I think he's going to be all right.
I remember us getting worked up over Traylon Burks not being able to contested catches. Pro Football Focus has his career contested catch rate at 40.7, 11 of 27. I remember one play
in the NFL.
NFL.
I'd be curious what they had at Arkansas.
I can find that for you. But it would be nice for the Tennessee Titans to have a wide receiver who can go up and get it no matter what. You alluded to this, Derek, earlier. What do you think this means for Calvin Ridley? How would you go about integrating Carnell Tate into this offense with Calvin Ridley? Do you stick with Calvin Ridley as the primary option for now and slowly work Carnell Tate into it? Or because of his draft slot, do you have to immediately push Calvin Ridley to maybe option number 2 and give Carnell Tate an immediate opportunity to be option number one.
And do you think there's a chance that they cut Ridley?
No, I don't think they're going to cut him. They need him or not. They need him from the standpoint of, because you don't know how this is going to go. You want to take as much pressure off of this guy as you can. Getting rid of Calvin Ridley puts even more pressure on it, because now he has, no doubt, there's no let's defer to Calvin until he so we can kind of hide him a bit. If Calvin leaves, you can't hide him. He has to be the guy. And I'm not saying that he will not be that person.
Is there room for both of them?
Yeah, there's room. Definitely. There's in today's NFL, there's room for everybody.
But you don't like that. You're a guy that I've heard say, keep the same 4 or 5 guys rotating.
You
like some.
I am big on
teams rotate too much sometimes.
I think teams do too much rotation with their wide receivers, and I think too many number one A1 wide receivers are willing to go out of the game. It's like, no, I tell you when I'm ready to come out the game. Unless you want to run a jumbo package or something, heavy package where it's one receiver, or I'm not okay. But when we're talking about just 11 personnel, I'm out there.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm not coming off the field until I raise my hand and say I'm
that's
tired.
why I'm asking the question. So you think there's enough reps?
Yes, I think there's enough
for all those guys.
I think there's enough reps, especially the way they sort of rotate all of these guys. But going back to Calvin Ridley, it's going to be Calvin. He understands. See, he understands going into the season, they're phasing out of him. He understood it when he took the pay cut. That's why he chose to take the pay cut as opposed to going out in the open market, because he probably wasn't going to get that much in the open market based on what he has done the 2 years with the Titans, because he's been injured.
And coming off a big injury.
Exactly, absolutely. So you stay here, you continue to assert yourself as the one, but eventually what the team is hoping is that this young guy comes on very slowly, and by the middle of the season, he has really picked up steam. And now he knows the offense. Now he's ready to go. And now we're sort of slowly segueing out of it, because Calvin Ridley is important to Cam Ward. He is extremely important because he is the only guy that he really trusts right now. I mean, the young guys are out there. Now, obviously, he and Alec have a relationship.
And
We
DK.
seen it on the field. And DK. But it was more so certain plays with Alec that I saw, okay, they're building this sort of they're building this rapport that is good for both of them. But Calvin Ridley is the guy that if we need a play, I know I can look to him because he's going to make more than like he's going to make that play. So he has to be there. But eventually what happens is that allows Carnell Tate to grow organically within the offense.
Okay, so you said that for it to be a successful rookie year for Tate, he needs to be in that 1,000-yard neighborhood. But I'm looking at Calvin Ridley's still there. Io Manor's still there. DK had his moments.
A lot of mouths to feed.
And now you've got another guy who has had 120, 140 targets the last few years. The guy from the Giants,
Wan'Dale Robinson. Yes.
So
They still have time.
It's about efficiency, but I do wonder: is everybody going to? Not everybody's going to have it. They're not going to have 4,000-yard receivers or even two.
No, this gives them the leeway to have those young guys slow down the pace a little bit.
Okay,
because now we really want to go 3 to 4 deep. That's it.
Yeah,
3 to 4 deep, and we want to get.
So who
Cam,
gets less playing time? Io Manor?
I think Alec does.
Yeah.
Because of DK's prowess on special teams. Yes. So he's more of that.
Specialty player.
Exactly. So he has to be out there on special teams. So you got to find a way to play him within the offense. And they will. They did last year. And they will expand on that this year. But they really, honestly, it's like 4 deep. We don't really want to go to that 5th or that 6th guy every so often, but we really want to go 4. And if we can chance it, we want to go 3.
So you would have DK as 4 over Io Manor at this moment? Or
Yeah,
the other way
because
around?
I will have DK 4 over Io Manor because of the special teams.
Okay.
To me. And he's just I think he's more of a well-rounded wide receiver. He can be inside, he can play outside, you can do a lot of things with him. And I'm not sure Alec, not to say that he won't get there, I'm not sure Alec is there yet.
By the way, Traylon Burks at Arkansas, a contested catch rate of 48.9.
So it was
22 of
questionable at that
45.
point. Okay.
That's not a question with Carnell Tate. 68.8% contested catch rate at Ohio State. 615-737-1025. We'll continue Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition coming up next. If you have a question for Derek, text him. Text us, and we will let him know. 615-737-1025. We're not giving out Derek Mason's number on the air. We will wrap up the show coming up next ahead of Vanderbilt baseball. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We are at Chicago's home of chicken and waffles in East Nashville, 2521 Gallatin Avenue. Our draft night coverage on Sports Talk 830 starts at 6 p.m. with Nick Frazier and Connor Newt. Coming up right after us, Vanderbilt baseball against Texas, a big series for the Vandy boys, Willie Donick.
Huge. Or as you like to say, huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
It's huge. It's a huge series.
Vanderbilt, they got a big road series win last week at Kentucky that bounced them back a little bit. They had lost a home series 2 out of 3 to Oklahoma in a series that they really needed to win. You got to hold serve at home. Texas is number 4 in the country, 30-8 on the season, one of the best teams in the SEC. And so this is a chance for Vanderbilt to make some hay because their RPI, you're going to hear this some as they go, they're on the bubble right now. They have not missed the NCAA tournament since 2005.
Wow.
They have made the NCAA tournament every year since then. And they've got some work to do. They are not a shoo-in to make it back to the tournament. They've had massive injuries on the pitching staff and to a lesser degree their lineup. Their lineup, though, basically has been pretty good. They score some runs, but their pitching they've really had to piece it together. And so at home against Texas, and your RPI will zip up if you can do well against them. So big series over at the Hawk.
Let's continue. Ask D-Mace Carnell Tate edition. The Titans draft Carnell Tate, number 4 overall last night, 615-737-1025. One texter says, Derek, what does this do for the mentalities of Alec Iamaner and Chimdike?
Listen, I've been there. Believe me, I have been there. And, your first reaction is, wow, okay. All right, they drafted a wide receiver. All right, what does that do? What does that mean for me? But then after that sort of settles, it means you need to go to work. You need to develop. You need to make sure that you come into that building, once the season started, a new person, physically, mentally. And that's what one of my challenges was to Alec and to D-Gate, but really Alec, is to come back a different receiver, physically, mentally, emotionally, come back as a different receiver. Now you need to, because if you don't, you're going to lose playing time. They've created, which I love, they've created competition within the room. And that's only going to make that room and the quarterback better.
Weston Hermitage says, so I guess Xavier Restrepo is just chopped liver, huh? The Titans spent the summer sanitizing. No chance of strep this winter.
Listen, again, it is a long shot. And when I mean long, I mean long.
How many O's can you add
exactly
to the word long in that situation?
Exactly.
Indefinite O's?
But, listen, I'm not saying he won't be able to do it. I'm sure his odds have been long every year, no matter what, and he's managed to go out there and perform. But the part of, the hard part here is, no matter what you do, it's going to take something outside of your control for them to put you on the field so you can show that you can play. How do I know? Because it happened to me. No matter what I did, there was this perception until something was forced on them and they had to put me out there.
Rick says, who does Carnell Tate remind you of initially? What does Derek think his ceiling is and his floor is?
I've always said, even when I was watching him and scouting him during the season, because he's always been my number 1 wide receiver. I thought he was a comparison to T. Higgins.
Yes.
To me, and I love T. Higgins. I wanted the Titans to try to trade to bring T. Higgins here because to me, he is a number 1 receiver. When Jamar Chase wasn't, in the game, he proved against the Titans that he was a number 1 receiver. He dominated. So I wanted him to get T. Higgins. They didn't, but I think this is a T. Higgins type player. So to me, if his ceiling is T. Higgins, then I'm good with that. I really am, because to me, T. Higgins is the number 1 receiver. He just so happens to play alongside of Jamar Chase.
I mean, T. Higgins has had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons, double-digit touchdowns in each of the past 2 years.
But that is going – see what that is what's going to be important here is the touchdowns. That is going to be huge because if he can be a high volume touchdown guy, then people can stomach not being a 13, 14, 1,500 yard guy because you are a double digit touchdown guy. So if he's able to get closer to that double digits and he's a 1,000-yard receiver, I think you got what you want.
Carnell Tate, to that point, Derek Mason, Carnell Tate in his final season at Ohio State, if I can pull it up here, had just 875 yards, but he had 9 touchdowns.
Yes.
So
and you're talking about he's playing with Jeremiah Smith and all these other guys. So it's like, man, there's touchdowns, plenty of touchdowns to go around.
And what do we say about Julian saying in his Heisman race? They had the game in the bag.
Yes.
So often in the second half, they weren't padding their stats by throwing the ball in the fourth quarter. What were we talking about? Like, there was a crazy stat about saying that he almost never had to throw the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So that affects Tate's stats and all the other receivers because they're just running the ball.
One texter says, I think a super happy person today should be Gunnar Helm. Fast rookie taking the safeties away, and then a good flight receiver we picked up in free agency pulling the linebackers away. Helm should be wide open a lot, or at least one-on-one.
I do think about that.
Yeah, this gives Helm an opportunity to flourish too, because now there's more people to have eyes on outside of him. You know, even though people probably didn't look at him like that, but having Wan'Dale Robinson, Calvin Ridley coming back healthy, and then going to get Carnell Tate, you can, as a tight end, depending on how Brian Daboll uses the tight end in his offense, you can become a more than a viable option for this offense.
I do want to thank the NFL for something. The NFL made the decision to limit the amount of time between picks yesterday from 10 minutes to 8 minutes.
Congratulations.
And
that helped a lot.
And according to Front Office Sports, it cut off nearly 40 minutes of the broadcast. The final pick of the first round came at 11:05 p.m. Eastern. The year before, 11:43 p.m. Eastern.
Do you think had it been no trades or say one trade, it would have went faster?
That's a good question. But I do appreciate the NFL.
Oh, me too.
For cutting it down 2 minutes per pick. Saved 40 minutes, basically, off the broadcast. So, big ups for the NFL in that decision. Also, the most awkward post-draft moment. Did any of you catch Sean McVay's news conference after the LA Rams drafted Ty Simpson?
Yeah.
He was muted, would be the word I would use to describe Sean McVay. He didn't look like he loved the pick.
He didn't look happy.
Because
is there a little bit of nepotism going on with that?
In what sense?
Snead, because Snead is good friends.
Oh, yes.
You
with
know,
Ty Simpson's
exactly,
father.
absolutely.
Right, yes.
So, that's probably why McVay was just like steaming it inside.
Well, didn't at one point Ty Simpson admit that he had not ever met
I
Sean
believe
McVay
he said that
in the press conference with him sitting right there? I found it interesting, too.
He said he hadn't talked to him before the draft, something like that.
But, it was also interesting. Somebody asked Keldrick Falk at his on-site press conference, hey, did you know the Titans were going to draft you? And he said, not really. He said, I had not met with the Titans.
Whoa. Well, I didn't meet with the Titans either. They drafted me, so there you
go. I mean, I wonder how often that's the case. But for a first-round pick, they didn't have a meeting with him.
One you're trading up to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it from Sean McVay's standpoint. Mm-hmm. He's trying to go for it one more time with Matthew Stafford. And you know how the Rams operate. F them picks, right?
Yeah.
They rarely have first-round picks in the top half, especially in the top half of the first round. And it was an opportunity for the Rams to draft a playmaker, perhaps. But they drafted Matthew Stafford's potential successor.
I mean, people forget about it if Ty Simpson comes in and they just keep winning. People forget about it. He'll seem like a genius, McVay, and Snead will still have his job.
Isn't it a great example of that? Somebody always falls in love with the quarterback.
Absolutely.
Somebody always. Guys always
fall in love with the quarterback.
I thought this was interesting from ESPN. Ty Simpson's 15 career college starts at Alabama are the fourth fewest by a first-round quarterback over the past 25 years. Anthony Richardson and Mitch Trubisky had 13 apiece. Dwayne Haskins had 14. Ty Simpson had 15. Mark Sanchez had 16.
Wow. That's not a good track
Mark
record.
Sanchez.
It's not a good track
I
record.
didn't realize that.
So, as Sean McVay said, we'll see if
You know,
Ty
that was-
Simpson will back up Matthew Stafford. He said, we'll see. He's in the competition with your boy Stetson Bennett.
That's my dude, too, man. Yeah. Stetson Bennett. Oh, man. Oh, goodness. Well,
Sometimes you just got to take the L, and I think you might have to take
an
the L
Alabama
now.
guy going against a Georgia guy.
Whoa. I've seen that movie before.
Oh, man.
Wow.
But fans, listen, the Titans don't have a second-round pick as we sit right now. Now, they may maneuver to try to get back into the second round late, but as we sit, they do not have a second-round pick. But looking at what they were able to do in the first round, I think people, you can be shocked, and I think you could be a little upset, maybe because they didn't take a rush in or Jeremiah Love was gone. But I think they still got a player. I think they still have someone that's going to help them transform their offense and become one of the better offenses in the National Football League.
And we talked about this the other day. It's so easy to sell a wide receiver. You plaster Carnell Tate on billboards all over town, put him on the side of the new stadium. It's so easy to market a wide receiver. You can put Cam Ward and Carnell Tate on the same billboard. That's going to get people excited. No disrespect to other positions. But there are a few positions that get fans excited more than wide receiver. So,
But it's tempered a little bit in Tennessee.
Yes, because of the history of wide
track
receivers.
record, yes.
We have to mention Kevin Dyson, who had a good career.
Kevin Dyson had a good, but his
Oh,
was injury.
injury,
It was injury. It
And
had
it's-
nothing
he had
to
a
do
slow
with his
start,
production.
but then he was coming on,
Yes.
and that's when the big
It is
injury
injury,
happened.
yes.
Yeah.
So
But
his
Kendall,
was
but
injury.
Kendall Wright and Kenny Britt
His was attitude.
Some
Kendall
bad
Wright,
teams.
and Traylon Burks.
injury.
Injuries.
Man.
It's
Long list.
look,
So
I
it
get
seems
it.
like all the Titan first rounders dealt with some type of injury.
I feel like
Guys,
Kendall Wright was out
Kendall
there.
Wright,
It wasn't a good team.
his attitude became more of an issue, I think, after a while. But Kenny Britt got hurt. Corey
Right.
Davis got hurt. Who else? AJ was hurt, but he ended up overcoming it, and he ended up being a terrific receiver. So
But it's the same thing, Willie, with Predators and forwards, right? When the Predators draft a forward high, like Brady Martin, for example, it's like, well, the Predators have stunk developing forwards, so why do you keep drafting forwards? It's the same thing with the Titans and the wide receivers.
baseball theory, man, just keep them coming. Keep it coming.
Eventually,
next
you've
up.
got to get
Eventually,
one.
yes.
Yeah.
Eventually, you've
Well,
got
you
to
can't
hit on
stop
one.
trying just
No.
because of the history. You have to keep trying.
Right.
You have to have good wide receivers.
3 out of 10, I'm a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, look. If Carnell Tate turns out, until Carnell Tate shows he can do it, people are going to keep bringing up Kenny Britt and Kendall Wright and Kevin Dyson and Traylon Burks.
I am curious about this, D-Mace. The effort that Cam Ward put into, especially with the rookies, Helm and Io Manor and DK, they worked really hard. They were there at 5 a.m, all that stuff. I wonder how he builds the relationship with
It's
Tate.
going to have to be that. It's going to Tate just got to fall in line.
Yeah.
Whatever those, Ridley and whatever Cam wants, you fall in line and let's go. If Cam wants to throw at 4 o'clock in the morning, you ain't got a family. You better be there at 4 o'clock. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like if Cam want to throw at 6 o'clock in the evening, you ain't got no family. Let's throw at 6 o'clock in the evening. Because they're all young. It's not like the only person that probably would have a problem with is Calvin Ridley because he has a family. But the rest, no, y'all ain't no. You meet me if I want to throw under some lights at 11 o'clock at night. You be out there at 11 o'clock at night.
That'll do it for us today and this week. We will continue reacting to the drafting of Carnell Tate. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days. We'll talk about it all starting at 3 o'clock on Monday. Vanderbilt baseball coming up next year on 102.5 The Game. Sports Talk 8:30 starting at 6. Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with our draft night coverage here from Chicago's home of Chicken and Waffles in East Nashville. Thank you to them for having us, but we will talk to you Monday at 3 o'clock. Have a wonderful weekend.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful weekend. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. See you come Monday at 3 p.m. where we will give you a full update on all of the Tennessee Titans draft picks. And welcome to Nashville, Carnell Tate. Peace.
Stick and stay. What are they going to do? That's coming up next. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PIE25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PIE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PIE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
This is a Game Nashville Sports Network weather update.
Here is your latest Middle Tennessee weather. Showers and thunderstorms are likely tonight, with a low around 63. Saturday brings a chance of storms early, then clearing to mostly sunny with a high near 79. Saturday night partly cloudy, low near 56. Sunday mostly sunny, high near 81. From the Game Nashville Sports Network, I'm Selma Bouvier.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. Smashville lives here.
Here's a shot, he scores! Steal behind the net, a one-timer! Preds score!
Your home for Preds hockey is 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Nashville, it's back. Cromwell Media, alongside Fox 17, brings you the 5th annual 615 Open, presented by Gary Force Acura and Atmos Energy. May 28th at Hermitage. Golf with purpose, supporting Folds of Honor. Register now at 615open.com.
Your home for VSiN is Sports Talk, 8:30 a.m.
If you're not Adrian Peterson, if you're not one of those kinds of guys, it's a very short list. If you're not Saquon, then what do you do with drafting a guy that high?
Download a Numbers Game podcast and other VSiN shows wherever you listen to podcasts. Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard share their knowledge of sports, gambling, and pop culture on Follow the Money.
But if he's taking 12 a game, I want over 3.5 plus money every single time.
You got a top 5 offense, a ton of dudes, a lot of size, and the Clippers have just let go of the rope defensively.
They'll keep tabs on the big wins and bad beats from the night before. Plus, get you geared up for the action that's about to begin. Follow the Money, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits.
Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hey, it's Bill from VSiN. You may know me as the guy who writes the VSiN daily newsletter, but I'm also one of VSiN's owners. If you're a business owner like I am, you need to reach customers ready to spend, right? VSiN talks to millions of engaged sports fans every month, folks with money in their pockets, ready to bet on the next big game. If you want to connect with this audience, email me at bill@vsin.com. Let's talk about how VSiN can help your business, no matter what its size, win big.
He knows the quarterback was on coke if his girlfriend was not.
These games are a burial, a blowout, a human lock. You can bet your unborn children on these games.
I was so good that whenever I bet, I could change the odds for every bookmaker in the country.
You know, Ace, breaking news. Kevin Durant out for game 3. 9.5 down to 6.5.
And moving even more now.
Oh, boy. He was questionable with the ankle. He's missed 2 of the 3 games. As you get Reeves back, too.
I got to see if any book right now is going to offer a series price on this.
Now, Alexander Walker also most improved, the Atlanta Hawks. Quarterbacks in the first round over 1.5. Winner. Giants loved Francis. A die for you, man. Die for you.
What do you think of that?
It was bizarre. Kept saying it. He's, okay. They died for Dart, the big fella. Plus 380. And the Giants loved him. And
that's the kind of guy you want on your team, right?
Yeah.
Saying that kind of, yeah.
Yep. He was top 5 on their board. Would have been better if he goes 5 and Tyson 10. But in any event, winner. And they Reese fell to their lap. They had to take him. Now, this was tough. Fano to go 6th. Knew he'd go to the Browns, plus 575, but the trade kills us here.
Mm-hmm.
Bad beat. I didn't think the Sabres could win a game like that. That was good. The goaltending change was needed. It worked out. Lyon was great, and they win 3-1. The empty net goal was awesome. Boston gets the first one, but that kid was great. And now the pressure shifts to Boston to even the series. Good job by the Sabres in an entertaining game. No problem with the under as well. Tough push in the Colorado game. That was 3-1 late. And easy winner again, Canes Senators under. That is, they could play 10, 12 periods. It's not going to score. I don't know. Got to come right back with it. Another 2-1 final between those teams. Mitchell, most threes in the series. Bruins plus 1.5 game series. Utah, Mammoth tonight. Place is going to be rocking. They could be up 2-0. Vegas had to come from behind in game 1. Bruins to win the series. Suns plus 10 tomorrow. They should get Grayson Allen back as well. Magic plus 2.5 to start the day. Lower league action. Playoffs on the line. League 1, Luton money line. League 2, MK Dons. They went out. They win the league. That's $1.20. Right back with the unders in hockey. More. Shepard, most threes in the series. Sengun, most rebounds. Actually gets a boost tonight without Durant, but Shepard should eat. Knicks, Hawks over 5.5 games. Durant, most points in the series. Bye-bye. Man City to win the Prem. Tottenham to stay up. Big one tomorrow against Wolverhampton. They don't have a win all year. Canes Senators under 6, minus 140. Stars Wild over 5.5, minus 130. Every game of the series has gone over. Colorado Kings, game 4 Sunday, under 6.5, minus 160. Bruins Sabres under 6.5, minus 140. Good luck. Keep going with those hockey unders.
I see right now to win the series, the Lakers are around minus 190. They're up 2-0.
70-cent move.
So
it was $1.70 earlier today, but it was $1.20 before the Reeves and Durant news.
Right.
No.
Now, I would imagine Durant's going to be back for game 4.
Sunday?
Unless they lose the game tonight, then he's like 1, 2, 3.
Well, he's got 2 things going on. He's got the knee and the ankle now. Oh, give me the Cancun. Give me a Laker win.
1-2-3 Cabo San Lucas.
Absolutely.
Malachi Lawrence did go in the first round last night. That was a winner. First position drafted by the Chiefs. Tight end, no good. David Bailey, number 2 overall. That got there. Dylan Thieneman, top 10, no good. Josh Hart split on him last night. Got over the rebounds again. Double-double, though, couldn't score. And the Timberwolves +2 last night was a winner. I'm kicking myself for not having them to win the series. Talked about it.
This is something. Very interested to see what Denver looks like in Game 4.
Now, how about this news today?
Yes.
Carlos Alcaraz announced on social media that he's going to pull out of the French Open.
He had the picture.
So our producer, Luke, loves tennis. By the way, he loves betting soccer, too. He writes up now MLS bets. Who do you got today, Luke? Tomorrow, San Jose.
The
okay.
earthquake?
Earthquakes, yeah.
San Jose earthquakes? All right.
So when he sent us the photo of Alcaraz in a cast, I'm like, oh, my God, we got to get on. And he's like, sinner to win the French. We have +150. He's now, I looked a little earlier, he's -230. If you wipe, I mean, by the way, after that photo surfaced, it moved from +150 to like -160. So now if you wipe Alcaraz out of the field completely, it didn't even adjust another $1. I know, Luke, I asked Luke his gut reaction today. He said $5.
Yeah.
Surprised when I told him it was -230. Still pending. Jags, come on, one time. First position drafted running back.
What's the pick?
That's late. It's like 50-something.
Damn it.
I know. Some of the other pending stuff. Pirates, Braves, most wins in April. Cap, most points in that series. Cada, most rebounds. I need like 28 out of him tonight for a chance. Bruins to win the series. Lost the game last night. So that number is not a good one right now, +135. The new stuff that we got. Now, this one is a good number, but I put this on the VSiN Picks page much earlier today. Talked about it on the air yesterday. Shepard over 2.5 threes, +158. That's now like -170 because of the Durant news. But I brought that up the other day on the air. Like, look, you're going to get a guy. Udoka said he's going to play more tonight, coupled with the idea that Durant might not play. Well, now he's out. So let's get like 14 more attempts out of him in this game. I'm trusting the Opta AI numbers, and I like these guys anyway. Grimes over 7.5 points, +110. Over the PRA, 11.5 tonight, -105. Andre Drummond, need you to be a rebounding machine tonight, pal. Over 8.5, +118. I'm doing it. I bet the Lakers plus the 6.5. I don't know if that's a big enough adjustment. That is, it's down to 5.5. I believe there are some books out there still with 6.5. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it's 5.5 pretty much everywhere. Maybe not enough of an adjustment still.
Yeah. You got a group chat full of hot takes. Cut was built for you. Cut's a social betting platform that let you bet directly against your friends and other users on anything. Sports, politics, pop culture, even personal bets. Every bet pre-funded. No more chasing someone down when they lose. No flaking. No excuses, just results. And unlike traditional betting apps, Cut gives you cash back on every single bet you make, even against your friends. Get a 20% deposit bonus on your first deposit when you use promo code VSiN. Head to cut.com, K-U-T-T, cut.com, or download the App Store and use promo code VSiN. Get Cut now.
Okay, so now reports are coming out because the round 2 of the draft starts coming up in 8 minutes. The Niners are trying to get out of the 33rd pick, which is pick number 1 tonight in the second round.
Yeah.
However, not a lot of suitors at this point, the way it appears. So it's that safety from Toledo who people have said if the 49ers keep the pick, probably going to be him.